So I'm here with the lead singer of Avoid, Benny Scholl.
What's happening? I'm stoked to be here. It's what is it, Friday afternoon? It's a
Yeah.
beautiful day. We're here to fucking party, baby.
Back into 2020, you guys released your EP, The Burner.
Yes.
Well, that was an awesome EP. I was a big fan of it when it came out because it kind of shook the scene for a little bit. Because when it came out, I was like, who the hell is this? This is amazing. It was super hard. It went crazy. I call things by different names, so I say things are like zesty sometimes.
Oh, I love
Zesty
that.
riffs, dude.
Yeah.
Zesty riffs.
Oh,
So,
appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so like it was weird for us, right? Like 2020 hit. Obviously, everyone's like, well, fuck. What do we do? Right? Like
right.
and so it was a very confusing time. And we recorded The Burner in like fall of 2019. And so
Right.
we like kind of sat on it for a sec and we were like doing all the things that you do behind the scenes before you put a record out, like seeing music videos, seeing who's interested in this release and that release and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then the pandemic hits and we're like, well, shit, what do we do? Um, and I know that, I mean, and I mean, obviously you saw everyone cancel tours and whatnot, but then you also just saw everyone like cancel their album releases because
Yeah.
they were like, well, if there's no touring, we're not going to put our album out. And I like kind of thought that was dumb. Even then, I was just like, I feel like this is like the time to put out music.
Right. Exactly. You would
Everyone,
think so.
everyone's like, and I mean, I get it because it's maybe not like on paper from maybe the suits in the industry, maybe not the number one choice, but I've never been a fan of following that logic. I just kind of like doing whatever feels right.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, it just felt right to put tunes out. And like, because obviously it was, I mean, everyone was struggling with, I mean, everything. I mean, whether it was not having the concerts to go to, struggling with not having work. I mean, obviously social issues, I mean, it still are, but so heightened at the front of your thing. It's like
Right.
people need to rock. And that was kind of how I felt with putting The Burner out. It's like we capitalized on a time where the market was very, very, very unsaturated.
Right.
There was nothing really going on, which helped us get things like Octane, and I believe helped us be like at least considered for the NASCAR game and all of
Yeah.
those things. But it was kind of like for us, it was just like it just felt like the right thing to do, just in case anyone needed a record right now that was new. It's like, and it wasn't even like I know this might not be for everyone, but for anyone that might need this right now, like we should put this out there for that. So put it out and it goes way better than we expected. So we're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, no, you're totally right because during the pandemic, everything sucked. I mean, there's no way around that. So everything
Oh,
was kind of miserable. So all we really had was a digital presence for everything. That kind of brings up the next point of you mentioned NASCAR, and that kind of plays into that whole like digital world and digital marketing thing because you guys had some eyes on you and it was including a NASCAR sponsorship.
so NASCAR was definitely a thing that we had always wanted to get involved in. I mean, purely personal, like I'd always wanted to see that because I grew up like a big NASCAR fan. It was always something my dad and I watched when I was growing up, and it was cool. You would see like every couple of years, you'd see like a band get involved, and it was really cool. Like Dale Jr. has driven like a bunch, like he's driven a Dave Matthews Band car, he's driven a Stained car. There was a Green Day car for one
That's
race when I was
cool.
a little kid, and like Green Day is my favorite band ever. So like when that happened at that, I was like, I'm doing this someday. And so I always like saw it as a little kid. It's like, I mean, it's not something that you see every day, but it's totally possible for a fucking punk band or a band that isn't necessarily considered in the NASCAR world to do this.
Right.
And then when we kind of like at a standstill after we put out our first record Alone, and we'd written The Burner, we were kind of just figuring out, we're like, well, what do we do now? Like, how do we kind of start separating ourselves from every other band so that we could hopefully build some sort of at least longer term career out of this industry?
Mhm.
And that's when we kind of just got to talking, and our bass player Luke and I are both really into racing, and it was just kind of like, well, yo, it's everyone's always like rock is dying and the future isn't in rock, the future's in all these things. And I was like, well, look at like action sports and look at
Right.
like NASCAR and racing in general. Like there's a massive market for that shit. I mean,
Yeah.
millions of people are watching every weekend, hundreds of thousands of people are going to race events every weekend, and they're not typically listening to like pop music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not
They
exactly
like
blasting Ariana Grande at a NASCAR event. So
right, like those people that are going to those events are rockers, and
yeah, for
I
sure.
kind of felt like hasn't really been a band that's really trying to make it in the mainstream, but also is like, hey, you guys like to rock? That's what we're here to do. Come rock with us. And so I always just saw it as a way to include that community in a grand scheme of things. It's also something that we love a lot. And so it was like, well, fuck, if there's this many people that are into rock music and going to events and things like that, it's like, how do we get our music in front of them? Because
Right.
I feel like we're doing something that they would fuck with.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's when we started trying to figure out all the different ways to get involved in NASCAR. And then Luke just made a post on Reddit at like fucking 3 a.m. one time. And it was like in the NASCAR Heat, which is the video game, like their subreddit, and was like, yo, how do you like submit music to get into these games? Like, I'm in a band. We've always wanted to like at least have an opportunity. Like, just curious. Does anyone have any idea? The only person that replied to that was a game developer for the company, and they gave us his
Wow.
email. Yeah. And
You
we
know,
got his email.
the response itself is cool because you're like, oh my, like I can't even imagine that because you're already getting a response from one of the game developers of NASCAR, which is one of the biggest things in the world. Quite honestly, that's crazy.
Well, and like because I didn't know that Luke made this fucking post. He just texts like the chat the next day, like, hey guys, I got an email to submit the fucking music to for the game, and we're like, oh, sick.
It's more than just the game, though. I know that you had some other things that went down. You went viral with an a cappella rendition of something.
Well,
Oh.
I did the national anthem.
Yeah.
The NASCAR race.
That is top tier. That is dope.
It's crazy. And that all stemmed from this one post that Luke made on Reddit. You could really trace it all back to this. Because then so that happens. We submit the music for the game. We get ghosted for a couple months. And then the pandemic hits. And like a couple weeks into the pandemic is when we get a email that like, hey, we love your songs and we'd like to use 2 of these songs for the game. And we were like, bet? Sick?
Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah, sure, of course. And so then we do that. We and they have a contract in our email when they send that over because they wanted to use Song About James as like the instrumental of it for the trailer.
Oh, that's
and
a great
that
one.
Was also like, yo, what? We're gonna not only be in the game, but they're using us as the trailer to launch the game. And like that was a commercial that like ran on TV and stuff and was like on like NASCAR events. Like, so that was really cool. So then from that, we met our buddy Nate, who plays guitar in a band called I Set My Friends on Fire.
Oh, wow.
And he manages NASCAR drivers as his day job.
What? You want to talk about full circle with the scene? The scene has connects everywhere. I will stand by this till the day I die. There's just, you never know. You have to have a connected
Isn't that
fan.
crazy?
Oh, no. What?
Yeah. So that's our fucking hookup.
Wow.
My Friends on Fire got avoided.
Oh, Holy Warp Tour. What a throwback. Oh my God. A great band, by the way. Love them. So
amazing. Nate, love you, buddy. Yeah, isn't that wild? So then Nate sees what we're doing, and Nate had already been like watching us for a second because like well before we were involved, like I just like think NASCAR merch is fucking sick, and especially vintage NASCAR merch.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Like, most of us do. So we've always been wearing that stuff for like years. And then he saw we got into the game and he's like, oh, wait, you guys actually fuck with NASCAR? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. And then we were able to work out where one of the driver he manages, Joe Graff Jr., he happened to like he showed him the band. We obviously like NASCAR and all kind of full circle. And then that led to an opportunity to have our logo on the NASCAR every week. And then we were able to like develop like skin for the game. That's cool. Like is a play. So it's like there's a full Avoid car in the NASCAR video game that you can play as, which is insane.
Yeah, dude, that's like Fortnite NASCAR.
Bro, if we get into Fortnite though, that's like the number one goal right now. That's all bets are off. If we get into Fortnite, I'm fuck, we made it. Everyone in Avoid gets a skin. Could you imagine getting to play as Benny in Fortnite?
What would be your go-to dance then? What would be like that? What would be it then?
Dude. we actually had this conversation in the van recently.
Oh, no way.
We were like talking about it because we were like, it'd be great. Like, hey, if we got into Fortnite, what would your emote be? And I was like, oh no, I don't know. I would have to give it some thought. Probably, honestly, probably the worm. Like
That's so funny.
like that's my thing. That like whenever we're at parties or something like that, I always pull out the worm, and everyone makes fun of me for it, and it's great.
You know, I know you guys have had a busy year so far. There's a lot going on. You're releasing your new album, Cult Mentality, is in October. So you've already released 3 stellar singles. You released Cowabunga, and you released Split Kill It, which is one of my favorites, by the way. I think that goes stupid hard. I say this to all of my friends. I'm like a huge advocate for that song. So really, really cool. And then most recently, you released My World, which also had the music video, which was stellar as well. So let's talk a little bit about that. I know that you also have a single that's dropping. It's called Whatever.
Yeah, I'm really excited to share that one. It's gonna be really cool. I mean, yeah, to kind of like just put the whole thing together. I mean, that record, I'm really proud of this record that we're about to put out, and I do think that if you're a fan of the scene, like there's definitely at least a song on this record for you. If you don't like everything, whatever. I don't fucking like everything either, but I think that there's at least a song for everyone on this record. And with Whatever, I think it's gonna be really cool. It's something a little different than we've ever done before. Even like the music video will be a little weird, and then the song itself is just basically, it's like kind of like an anti-metalcore song.
I love that.
It's like the most metalcore song we've ever put out.
Wow.
And so it's basically like it's supposed to be, it's like really lighthearted, but it's just kind of making fun of everything, including ourselves and all the other bands. It's just like, how kind of funny is it that we're just like trying to make it in a band, and like this scene is, I mean, it's just funny sometimes. It's like, we live in a van sometimes, we sleep in fucking Walmart parking lots. Like sometimes our dinner meal is $5 budget. Like it's funny. Like it's super cool and I love it with all my heart, but it's fucking funny that we commit ourselves this hard to it. There's lots of little tropes. Like lyrically, it's basically just about how we're all doing the exact same fucking thing, and it's kind of stupid that everyone's like judging each other all the time, and there's all these like egos in the scene when it's just like,
oh yeah,
we're just doing the same fucking thing. Like we're all out here, whether you fucking did like an 010 breakdown or you fucking maybe used the 12th fret. It's like, it's just a breakdown. And I mean, I think the most important thing about all this is the community and having places to go. But if you can't make fun of yourself a little bit, then what the fuck are you doing?
No, it's the great way to think about it. And you know what? You said that Green Day is one of your favorite bands of all time, and you can, what you just said word for word, I'm pretty sure that Billy Joel would have said the same thing. So
yeah,
like, word for word. I'm a huge fan of them too. So it's very, what you're saying reminds me of them very much, and I think that's really cool because I could see the connect there for sure.
That was just like, I've always wanted to write a song like that. And especially like when you read the lyrics, you'll see it. And it's like, again, it's not even really directed at anyone. If anything, it's directed at us, but it's just like, it's just supposed to be funny and stupid and like hopefully make you just like, I hope it makes you laugh and bang your head. You know what I mean?
That's the way it should be, though. Like, not for nothing. I feel like the scene is lacking that right now. I feel like everyone takes themselves very seriously. And I'm not shading anybody by saying that either.
No.
Everyone takes themselves really seriously. You see, like, this really, like, tough, like, the world sucks, which, sure, yeah, it does. But your take on it is so cool and it's so refreshing. And I think that's what we need right now. So I'm really excited for this. I really am.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I agree. And it's not even a mean thing to say. It's just like, you look at a scene and everyone's fucking being a little too serious right now. And I get it, like it's kind of a serious time in the world, but nah, we're not gonna give you that shit. We're just gonna rock. And it's cool with this because it's also I will say, like, even especially Cowabunga and even the other two, it's like there is maybe a more serious lyrical like subject matter on those songs where it's like this one is fully just like, hey man, who fucking cares?
Yeah, no, it's serious. And I think that's cool too, because I know that you have some, like you said, like with songs about James, it's like a little more serious, and you have different tones for things, which is really cool too. There's a variety.
I like the seriousness in like goofiness, like Hostage at a Beach House Party, super sad song, So we called it hosting at a beach house party.
Right. It's like you don't know what you're gonna get, and I think that's the coolest thing about a void.
A void is just like a physical representation of ADHD.
That's really funny. Like, actually, I'm quoting you on that for sure.
Oh, I'll take that to the grave. That's for sure. Because I have really bad ADHD. And I think about a lot of that shit. So yeah, I would say that a lot of that comes from just full-fledged, unchecked ADHD.
That's freaking great. Seriously. But I know that like you said, Green Day is one of your favorite bands. And obviously there's got to be some form of influence other than outside of Green Day. Like that, whether it's new influence or old influence or someone that you grew up with, whatever it may be. You guys are from Seattle. So that's like the birthplace of grunge. So it does make me wonder, like, was there any kind of influence that we were growing up or current scene influences that are influencing Avoid right now?
Yeah. Oh man. Everything really. Like we're really in, like, it's like I'm really inspired by anything, and it's purely subjective, but anything that I find cool, I'm inspired by. It doesn't matter the genre, it doesn't matter the this, it doesn't matter if I think it's cool, I'm inspired by it. Like things that I find refreshing. But kind of like when it came in, like, so Green Day is where it really all started. I found Green Day when I was like fucking like 6, loved it. And then from there, and like that was even what made me like even at that young of an age be like, I want to do that someday. And then I found bands like Sum 41, My Chemical Romance, like all of the like the Fall Out Boy, the kings of 2004 to 2007 pop punk.
The 2000s Hot Topic Warped Tour emos. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Don't worry.
My bread and butter. And then that kind of led, so I got really into like that stuff. And then in middle school, that led me into getting into bands like Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens, Of Mice and Men. I just fell in love with like that Warped Tour-esque scene.
Right.
And then it like kind of went to more of like a butt rocky side of it, because then I found like Avenged Sevenfold. I got really into like the Mayhem Fest type bands, and like that was when I found like Slipknot and all that. And then went even crazier, I found bands like Meshuggah and just like the crazy fucking, and I was like, oh,
super
this
heavy.
is sick too. And then that's kind of, I feel like, what started giving me my like insane music taste, at least when it comes to like the scene, because I'm like a full-fledged scene kid, and like one of my favorite bands is also like Converge. Like I think Converge is the best metal band to ever do it. Like there isn't a band like them. And so
Converge,
I don't know, I think anything that's fucking cool is cool to me, and it doesn't matter what it is if I find it cool, I'm inspired by it.
Right. So would you say that Avoid is almost like a blend of all of those things? Like you have like the attitude of like Green Day, Blink-182, Limp Bizkit. Then you have like that sound that's all of those Warped Tour, metal-esque, post-hardcore even, you can say, bands. Like it's almost like a big blender, and you threw it in there and you got.
Oh, for sure. We are, and that's like, we are not trying to be any one band, but we are a culmination of all of that. Like we are like, it's like, oh, that's cool, throw that in the blender. Oh, that's cool, throw that in the blender. Oh, that's cool, throw that. It's like, it's never like take one band and try and do that exactly how they did it, but it's like, all right, take those couple things, and then this band take those couple things, and then this take those couple things, and then it's like, and we just internalize all that. And I think that that's what's made all of us like really cool. And I also think that the coolest thing about Avoid is like, you have this conversation with any of us, and it's a little bit different. Like all of us have a very, like, we have very similar outlook on it, because that's why we all work really well together. But we have super different backgrounds in where we come from, what we're fans of, what we try and create, even in what we listen to every day. Like we're all kind of different. And I think that that's what makes Avoid sound really cool too, is because it's like, I'm here throwing all these fucking like scene kid, pop punk, and extreme metal influences, where you have Luke, who's super deep into like hip hop stuff as well. And he also scene kid, but it's like, we have all that. And then Nick was like a really like hardcore, like prog kid in like middle school, high school, then more into, and this also his favorite band is like the Foo Fighters and the White Stripes. And like,
that's dope.
So it's like,
oh my God,
a mixture of everything, because we're all so different in where we come from.
Considering everything that you guys kind of know, where all your heads are musically and everything, it does kind of make me wonder too, the name Avoid, where did you guys come up with the name? I'm curious.
It's so dumb.
You see, this is why I asked, because I need to know now.
No, it's so dumb. Like there's nothing. I wish I had some cool deep story about this band. I don't. Avoid. I mean, it comes from. So I started this band technically in like 8th grade.
Wow.
With my friend Nick Mijas, who he's not. Nick Olson is still in the band, and he started right after. But technically, if you really want to go pinpoint it, we started this band in choir class in 8th grade. And we came up through that. We were just writing stupid little like 3-chord pop punk songs, and it was nothing. And that was where the name Avoid the Void came up from. I'm pretty sure like we were like I'd gotten into my parents' liquor cabinet, and we had like gotten drunk in 8th grade, and we're like, we're gonna be the fucking band, man. And it is avoid the void, man. That's fucking sick. It's so, and we always hated Avoid the Void, especially like when that got like the tiniest bit of traction in the local scene, and we started like opening for bigger shows. It's like, God, this name sucks. And then we got a t-shirt design one time and it was like Avoid, and then there was a line through Avoid, and it said really small, The Void.
Oh my God.
And I looked at it and I was like, yo, this would be way cooler if it was just Avoid and didn't have the void in it. And that was really the blueprint right there. I was like, yo, there's no way we're gonna be able to market this band if it's called Avoid the Void. Like, we need to drop that shit, call it Avoid. And so I'm not even gonna hide that. It was just like I thought Avoid the Void was a bad name, and I thought Avoid was a way more marketable name.
You want to talk about ride or die with your name from middle school too? That's awesome, and it worked out though. You know,
it did. Well, and honestly, like the only reason we even kept any part of it being like that is because we had toured like 2 times under Avoid the Void, which didn't really matter, but we were like 18 and like stressed out, and we were like, there's gonna be no fans if we change the name completely. Where it's like, hey, 18-year-old Benny, you were touring in your mom's minivan. You didn't have any fans.
Oh my God, that's great. You know what? Speaking of touring though, I know that you guys have had a lot going on too. You just got through like a dope West Coast stretch with Dead Lakes. You just finished that up, and you were in Vegas on the 9th, I think, right?
Yeah, we were in Vegas a couple days ago, just wrapped up. I'm on it. Like, that was a great run. Just for any backstory, if anyone didn't catch it. So we were supposed to be on tour this summer with a band called Northlane. They're from Australia. And a couple weeks before, we found out that unfortunately, due to the awful and grueling visa process it is to get into the United States from other countries, they ran into that and they could not get their visas approved. Super stupid. So, and it's not their fault. It's not, and that's the thing is, like, there's really like, it's one of those where it's like, you really can't be upset at anyone. It's just like, fuck, man. Sometimes that's just the game. If you're going to start touring with international bands and do these national tours and if you're going to be in it, kind of part of the fucking game. And it sucks and it shouldn't be a part of the game, but that was where our mindset was. And so instantly, instead of just sitting around and moping and being bummed, we just started booking a tour. Yeah. That's all we really know how to do. And we already had the merch ordered. We already had the time off work. We already had our summer kind of planned. And again, not even trying to fucking get the woe is me sympathy story, but
no, for sure.
We've been confirmed on that Northlane tour for 2 years. Like, that was the first tour we confirmed, like, after the pandemic. And it was like insane to us. And so not only was it just like a few months, like, we had been mentally prepping for that tour for 2 years.
Wow.
And for it to like get getting the rug pulled out of it with 2 weeks to go was, I mean, it was definitely just like, I think more than anything, I don't think it hurt the band very much. I think it just hurt us mentally. Kind of just felt like, God damn, fuck. Are we just gonna, and I even hate saying that because I also recognize that our band is in a better position than some other bands right now. And I don't ever want to like take that for granted because
the struggles are still valid.
Struggles are still valid though. And so we were just like, it hit us really hard mentally where we were just like, of course, you know? And so, but that's instead of moping around, we just started booking a tour, and that was what I did for years. And I was always the guy that was booking our tours in the DIY days. And thankfully, still have a lot of connections from those days. And so we booked that tour in like 5-6 days.
Wow.
Like, we literally just, I just started hitting up all of the promoters that used to book Avoid over the years who I've met. And then Chris works at a venue in Oceanside that had the day open. Dead Lake, some of their members used to live in Arizona, so they had the day open. So I booked like 5-6 shows, and then the rest of the guys kind of helped a couple ones come together. And then next thing you know, we had a tour, and that was all we wanted. Like that was the only goal after the Northlane tour. It's like, let's not focus on this. Let's not mope about it. Get on tour.
And I know that you guys also have the Bad Omens tour as well, that you're going to have a couple shows with them too. So that's really exciting as well.
Yeah, that kicks off here in just a couple weeks. So that's the other thing, is it's nice, and it kind of keeps us busy into the year, or into the rest of the year. So we have a few weeks at home now. We'll go out and do those Bad Omens shows, and then I think it's like 4 or 5 shows with Bad Omens, and then we have 2 shows with Dayseeker in the Midwest while we're out there. And then we're doing a show with Silent Planet in like Indy. And then we do a festival in Colorado Springs. And then we're home for a few months. And then I believe it gets announced next week. But we have a really cool fall tour. And that will kind of be our, the record will come out. And then we do this tour. And that'll pretty much be our year. And then we'll start unveiling the next year's plans hopefully pretty soon.
Before we go, we'll talk a little bit about the full album. I know it comes out in October, like I said before. So what can we expect from that album? I know we said it's going to be a little bit of everything, but I know there was a whole process behind it, and you were talking a little about it before.
Yeah.
So what can we expect? Because I know you guys put a lot of heart into this.
Yeah. I mean, really, there's no genre that's off limits on this record, which is really cool. I think we experimented to the fullest we've ever done on a record. And then I'd say that, like, on top of that, it was just like, it was insane because we pretty much just started writing after the burner. We just not even thinking about writing for a record. We just started writing, and songs came together, and then because after we put out the burners, we also got a new record label, which was really cool. But that was also like, there's a process, and there's always growing pains when that happens as well.
Right.
And so we were just like, we had a bunch of songs written. I don't think it was what anyone, including us, was like wanting out of the songs. And so it just kind of like had us in this like weird limbo period. And the pandemic hit. So we weren't rocking as hard. We were more of like chill rocking and like writing more like softer songs and just like more chill songs, which is not something we'd ever done. And it was cool to experiment with that side of us. But then I think when we came down and we were like actually recording the record, it was just like, this isn't right. And it wasn't like a fucking 30 ballads, but it just wasn't right yet. I'm not even gonna say it wasn't a void, but it just wasn't right yet.
Yeah.
And we ended up bailing on like fucking close to 30 songs, if not more. And kind of sat down fresh, took some of those riffs. I think we took the strongest riffs, the strongest vocal melody, anything that really stuck out of those songs to us, that was our starting point. And then we just ended up culminating a bunch of like Frankensteins of like old riffs and just like new things. So it was cool. But yeah, it ended up being like a 2-year process. Like, had those songs, we went down to LA few different times to write with different people and just try and get it done. And purely I'm not even, because the producers that we've worked with and anyone that's helped write on this record has just been so amazing to us. But we had to go through some growing pains on our own to get this record out of us to a spot that we like it. But now that we have, like, I'm stoked. And I mean, like, it ended up coming down to when we were last December, Nick, myself, and Hiram, we worked on these songs for 16 hours a day, every day, for pretty much 4 weeks straight. Like, we just killed ourselves, just didn't stop. And wow, that's a really, really, really tough thing to do. And I don't necessarily recommend it for anyone. It does get results.
You have the single Whatever dropping 8/19. You have Cult Mentality coming out October 14th of this year. Really exciting. And then there's going to be more announcements to come, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty more to come from that. And more music videos, more long form content, more type. And we're really trying to step everything up when it comes to that. And so, yeah, we're not going away anytime soon.
That's awesome. It's just the beginning for you guys, so I'm really excited. Guys, Benny Scholl, lead vocalist of Avoid.
We
Thank
out
you
here,
again for
baby.
coming on. It was awesome. Do you want to plug your socials before you go?
Oh, thanks for having us. Yeah, follow Avoid Kicks Ass everywhere. Easiest thing to find. We're the only band that has the handle something kicks ass. So Avoid Kicks Ass. If you want to find me, I'm like Benny.Scholl on most things. Follow me, follow the band. You're always interacting with me, and we'll fucking party, baby.